What's going on, guys? Back with another flash sheet. I'm working on a set of 12 sheets, and it's been a little while since I've done a video. I just want to give a shout out to my homie Mitch for reminding me of my YouTube channel, and it kind of inspired me to come back and show you guys what I've been working on. Got a few finished sheets here that I'll just show real quick from the set. Got that one. Some dragons. That one. And these are just about all repaints, or my interpretations of classics throughout the years. This whole sheet is Sailor Jerry Flash from his volume 1, I believe. That is my interpretation of those classic designs. I am using watercolors for this set. These are Daniel Smith fine watercolors. They're a little bit more expensive, but they are very high light fastness, very high light fastness, archival quality, and that's what I'm using now because I want my work to continue improving the quality and using better quality materials as much as I can. So this is what I've got. For the black, I used P.H. Martin's, I think it's called Black Star. It's a matte black. And I used that with a B6 nib that I don't have with me right now. It's at the shop. But I've got a burnt sienna, cadmium yellow, deep hue. This is called Kyanite Genuine, but it was the closest thing I could find to a Payne's gray that looks like the Luna pigment Payne's gray. The Payne's gray that they had in this was a little bit too gray. It was too dark, too gray. I've got an olive green and then this Mayan red, which this seems to be pretty similar to the crimson red from Luna Pigments, and this is pretty similar to the Gold Tooth by Luna Pigments. So that's the palette that I'm trying out. And then I've got these Escoda Prado Sintetico Barcelona watercolor brushes that I'm using. I'm not doing the spit shading anymore. I've moved away from that, especially with the fact that these watercolors you can re-wet them. You know, it's not as crucial to get that right consistency that the ink needed, and spit was the only medium that kind of wet the ink properly. With the watercolors, I can just use plain water and it works better than spit. So I just finished up this ship. I'm gonna be working on this elephant, and then we'll go down to this moth. There's really not too much to do to this elephant, but since I have this palette that I'm working with, you know, I do want to incorporate the colors where I can. I've already added some yellow to that eye, so now I'm gonna go in and add some other stuff in there. So like I said, these are all repaints of originals and then reinterpreted in my sort of perspective. You know, I changed these in a way that I felt was attainable for me, and, you know, more in line with how I want them to look, I guess. You know, I'm not really interested in trying to find a unique style or anything like that. I'm interested in finding out what I gravitate towards and what works or doesn't work. And then I've been using these sheets as a way of experimenting. What risks can I take, and what risks that I'm taking work and what don't work, that whole kind of thing. So you know, these are all studies. They're not really meant to be my breakout collection as an artist, establishing who I am or anything like that. I don't care about anything like that right now. I want to know what works. I want to be able to know what the masters who came before me knew. And so one of the ways that I've found to do that is by studying their work and seeing what choices and decisions did they make that make them a master. I want to know what they know. I don't care about anything else really right now. So that's kind of the whole point of choosing these designs. And then furthermore, I wanted to see what kind of decisions I make myself as an artist, where I'm at right now in my capabilities. So the lines are all, you know, reinterpretations of old masters, but when it comes to the color and shading, I'm just winging it. I'm making mistakes left and right, but that's the point of this. Is I want to know where I'm at. I want to know, if left to my own devices, just me and the paper and the paints, what decisions am I going to make? And I'm learning a lot about myself as an artist by doing it this way. And it's also just a little bit more fun, a little bit more exciting for me, because I spent so much time doing research on these artists. And, you know, like everybody knows who Sailor Jerry is. So, you know, I don't want you to think that I'm just now finding out about Sailor Jerry's life. But, you know, I've got flash from Pinky Yun. I've got stuff from archives, from acetates, from artists that I don't even know who that. I don't think there was a name attached. You know, there's Pinky Yun flash that I've reworked, all kinds of stuff. And that was really cool, getting to know these artists and getting to do all this research on their work and all that kind of stuff, and the various different sort of schools that these images come from, like, you know, Hong Kong traditional versus American versus some of these Japanese images. You know, I kind of got to go all around the world by doing that research. But at some point, it started to feel a little bit too much like homework, a little bit too much research, and not enough creative exploration. And so once I got these lines down, I said, I'm just gonna shade and color it however I see fit. And that has made it a really fun experience so far, and it's been giving me a lot of insight on where I'm at as an artist, what kind of decisions I like to make, and you know, also what works and what doesn't work. And that's really that's what my intention has been the whole time. That's what I've been wanting to find out, is how to do this correctly. Because while tattooing is an art form, and you know, there is room for expression and all that, there is a right way to do it, or a most effective way to go about it. And that's what I'm interested in before I really want to get too deep in expressing my individuality and all that through this. I want to know the best way to do that. It's kind of like you can't write a book before you know how to speak the language properly, because no matter how unique your idea is, if you can't communicate it effectively and properly, it's not gonna land right. It's not gonna be received as well. And you know, the whole point of making art, for me at least, is it's a conversation between myself, something beyond myself, something transcendental, and then the viewer. It's kind of like, while I'm making my art, I'm having this like spiritual experience, communicating with something greater than myself. And once it's solidified on paper or whatever else, then whoever views that, I want them to be able to tap into that conversation as well, and to receive that communion that I was receiving. And so the way to do that is to know the framework, the language, so that you can communicate it effectively, so that the viewer can understand what this conversation is about. And I think that has always applied to art. The best artists in the Renaissance, the best artists in all the, you know, the great schools of art understood that concept, that you're bringing a language, it's a visual language. And so if you're going to communicate an idea through a visual language, you need to know how to do that correctly and effectively. But unfortunately, we focus so much on expressing yourself that it almost doesn't matter if the viewer can understand the message through the image. It's just about expressing yourself, and you know, you can always explain it yourself in words if you need to. And I'm not trying to dog anybody, but that's just not really where I feel I resonate. So that's just not really something that I'm after, you know, in terms of just focusing on expressing myself. And I don't really need anybody to understand it. That's not really me, because this is like a collective thing. Art is best, to me, art is most effective, most appreciated when all parties involved are kind of on the same page about what what the story is. And that doesn't mean on the same page as we all agree with the story that the artist is saying, or we all are in agreement. It's more that we just, you can tell what the artist is saying just by looking at it. And whether that's controversial or boring, or it doesn't matter, the fact is that the message is clear based off of the image. And that to me is the whole point of a visual language. What's the point in making something visual if you're going to have to turn around and explain it in a paragraph at a later point because your vision wasn't communicated correctly through the original medium? You know, it just seems a little, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. That's a whole nother philosophical discussion, I guess. You know, this video is just all about painting some flash. So I just put down some olive green in the trunk, and now I'm gonna blend out this burnt sienna in the tusks. Because I'm kind of like thinking about the dynamic of this elephant on this side and the colors as opposed to what I got going on here. So here I've got burnt sienna, that Payne's gray, yellow, and red. So keeping the same sort of palette on this side, but instead of the Payne's gray, I've got this green in here. And kind of gonna do that same deal with this one because I've got Payne's gray here. Yeah, and then I'm gonna continue with the olive on this side, but I'm kind of thinking maybe I should get rid of that Payne's gray, put olive in there, and then use Payne's gray in here. So I've got this like diagonal thing going. So I'm gonna finish this elephant first and then come back to that idea, but I'm kind of leaning towards that. And that's the thing I like about these watercolors more than using inks is if I change my mind, I can go back in and do something different. With the inks, it's set in stone. And, you know, that's good too. Kind of forces you to think a little harder before you put something down. And it kind of teaches you to just live with the decision that you've made. And I've done that on quite a few sheets now, so I thought maybe I'd give myself a little bit of a break from that and have a little bit more room to play around. So one thing too that I'm kind of working on is being intentional but loose. So, I mean, if you look, like, my painting is pretty messy. You know, it's not like perfectly even and smooth and all that. Sorry, my dogs are energized right now. But it's intentional, so from a distance, you get it. I'm not interested in making perfect stuff. I want my stuff to look human-made, especially with the rise of AI and technology and aesthetics and all that jazz. I want you to look at my stuff and be like, yeah, a human made that, and I like it. I almost think about, and you know, this could be taken egotistically, and that's fine. But sometimes I actually, always when I'm working on a painting, I think in terms of this being an artifact of human history. Human history, not technological history and informational breakthroughs and that stuff, like real human history, like cave paintings, finding those 10,000 years from now and wondering what was going through that person's mind, and looking at the little weird decisions and brush strokes that they made that prove that it was made by a human hand. To me, that's why we're making art. We're making art for humanity, for as timestamps in our evolution as people and consciousness, as individuals, as a collective. But it's never really about you as an artist, you as a person. And we think it is sometimes because we've sort of eternalized these figures like Da Vinci and Michelangelo and stuff like that, and we think it's about them, but really it's about the mark that they made in our concept of who we are as humans and what we're capable of and where our consciousness can be and what we connect to. So that's why I don't really care too much about trends. Like I do care about tradition and sort of carrying forth a lineage. To me, that's pretty important. But as far as trying to be a standout artist or anything like that, that's not what it's about. This is about a contribution to the collective, a contribution to art and self-expression. To me, making art is the most it is autonomy in a way that nothing else can compare to. It is the ultimate expression of autonomy, whether you're singing, drawing, painting, making sculptures, cooking. It is truly coming from who you are. No matter how much you try to emulate another person's style or whatever else, you're still the one that's making it. And nobody can take that away from you. Your ability to create something, to make art, nobody can take that away from you, because a real artist can always find another way to make art. It's not about what you're making. It's about the fact that you can make something from the inner depths of yourself, from your own hands, from your own voice. So yeah, I don't know. I got a little carried away right there. I got a little passionate. I don't really know where I was going with that one. Okay, so if you can see, I decided we're going with the olive on this side here. Should probably bring this out some more. Okay, bam. Now we're gonna come in here and we're gonna have an appearance by Payne's Gray to match these flowers. We've kind of got this centerpiece here, brings it all together because it's got all the colors in it. And yeah, I think that's gonna work for me. So one thing I like to do with my brushes too is I cut a little notch in my water brush. Paint, just water. So I've had a couple mishaps that made me realize I should do something a little bit different. All right. So I'm wondering where I should put this Payne's Gray, because I'm thinking yellow, 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 brown in the skull. And I was thinking red here. Maybe I can do like a fade from Payne's Gray into yellow right here. I think that might be a good idea. We'll do that here too. This has also been a little bit challenging for me because I'm really not a watercolorist. Well, I should rephrase that. I haven't really studied watercolor. So I've been kind of using this as a opportunity to really learn these materials, and that has been a little bit of a challenge. But, you know, they didn't say it wouldn't be challenging, they just said it would be worth it. And I fully believe that. Okay, I like that. So, wash that off. Get that out of here. Go in with this yellow now. Okay, I guess I'll do the red real quick. And I suppose I'll do a little bit of brown, but not much. So I don't really want to like drown out that skull. Ooh, I think I meant to put yellow in here. We'll get to that. Okay, I'll take that. I'm cool with that. Just gonna throw a little bit of brown in here, and that'll be it for this sheet. I've got 8 more to paint. See if I can get that stain out. Probably just made it worse, but all right. So, kind of thinking I should put a little something in the head, just a little something. So, I'll do this. Just fade that out. Man, why not? I think that, fuck it. I'm okay with that. Take it. All right, well, that's another flash sheet. I guess I'm gonna start doing this more. Finish out the set on camera and put that up. And I think this is what we're gonna do next. Pretty simple one. Get that one out of the way pretty quick.